Hey you guys, it's Liv La Nina and I am back again. This week we are going to be taking a look at an action anime, Seven Deadly Sins Season 1. I am back following my rule of doing a season by season review only because Seven Deadly Sins is 5 seasons. One of the seasons is like super short though, but this way I think is better because it is a little bit longer than like 1 or 2 seasons, and I already know that my ratings are going to be very different season by season. Seven Deadly Sins is about a group of used to be heroes, now villains, the Seven Deadly Sins, who were strong warriors who are now being accused of treason and are wanted. So they are actually trying to evade the Holy Knights of Meliodas because, again, they've been branded as traitors, and they have been working with a young lady named Elizabeth, who is actually a princess. She's one of the princesses of Meliodas, and she first finds Meliodas, who is the leader, the captain of the Seven Deadly Sins, and they round up some of the other sins, and they are out to prove their name and prove their innocence. In addition to this, the Holy Knights actually staged a coup and took control of Meliodas, putting Elizabeth and her father, the king, in danger. And essentially, the major conflict in season 1 is between the Seven Deadly Sins and the Holy Knights, because the Holy Knights have been told that the Seven Deadly Sins are the enemies, they're traitors. However, there is someone within the Holy Knights who is actually, he has an ulterior motive. So there's a little bit of mix up in there. So to get right into it, our main character is Meliodas. Like I said, he is the leader of the Seven Deadly Sins. And how does he balance independence and teamwork? I gave Meliodas a 7 because he's mostly independent. He's really honestly independent when it comes to fighting, but he is a team player. Like I said, he is the leader of the Seven Deadly Sins now and in the past, as well as, doing whatever he can to protect Elizabeth, who is actually his love interest. So he could do a little bit more on the team side. He is kind of independent, but he does work well with the team. Is the story consistently exciting and well paced? This one I give it an 8. The story does move along pretty fast in that first season. We go ahead and see kind of what's what, and we uncover, some of the hidden things and who's really out for their own good and their own benefit. And there's a lot of good fights. So Seven Deadly Sin as a whole has a lot of fights, a lot of amazing fights. And they don't shy away from that even on season 1. So you do get to see that on season 1 as well. Do the subplots enhance the main character's motivation and the overall story? This one I gave it a 6. And this is because there are some subplots, but as far as contributing to like the main character's story and his motivation, we actually don't get a whole lot of backstory on Meliodas and his motivation for what he's doing and how adamant he is about protecting Elizabeth until later in the show. We really don't get those details early on. So for right now, have to settle for a 6. Are the antagonists well developed? This one I gave it a 7. Because you see, overall, watching the show from the lens of the Seven Deadly Sins, proclaiming their innocence and being the protagonist, specifically Meliodas, the Holy Knights are the antagonists. The reason I give it a 7 is because we find out that it really is not the entire Holy Knights. Essentially, there is one of the Holy Knights who has been dabbling with some demonic power, who is really trying to become the most powerful. And because of that, he's able to influence the Holy Knights into thinking, this is the enemy, but really he's the enemy. So I feel like they kind of threw that in there like the last few episodes. So it really kind of threw you off as far as who's the antagonist. And then we don't even really see the conclusion of that until the following season. So 7's all I can do. How well does the main character grow from defeat or failure? This is actually the lowest I think I've given any review yet. I actually gave Meliodas a 3. And I give him a 3 because he honestly doesn't grow much. At least not in this season. And honestly, not a whole lot in the show. But specifically in this season, he really doesn't grow a whole lot. And it's not a bad thing because he is staying consistent. And again, the major theme of the whole show, outside of just season 1, is Meliodas will do whatever to protect Elizabeth. There's a heavy romance there. There's a lot of history there that we don't learn about until later. But he is going to do whatever he needs to do to protect her. And because of this, when he loses in battle, he doesn't really grow or change in any way. We see him grow in later seasons, but for right now, there's a lot of room for improvement. For the final ratings, we have a 7, 8, 6, 7, and 3, which gives us 31, and a 31 out of 50 gives us a 6.2. It's not bad, but it's not good either. This is average. Actually, no, it's not average. It's not average for the shows that I have been reviewing, but I would not classify something that I give a 6 as unwatchable. If I give something, I'm going to say less than a 5, then that might be like a put this on in the background show. But again, this is just season 1, and a 6.2 is definitely still a watchable anime, but it's not all that. So let's talk about the things that I did not like about 7 Deadly Sins season 1. The first, and this is something that I feel like is common among a lot of anime watchers, is I don't like when characters kind of lose their power and their strength when they switch sides, so to speak. So Guild Thunder was an example. He was whooping up on them Saiyans. He was whooping up on people. He was doing it. But once he realized, who the real enemy was, and he was also cursed and the curse was lifted, he kind of lost that resolve to me. He kind of dropped down, and I don't really like that. And that happens a lot across a lot of animes. So that's something that you've probably heard before, but he's definitely an example of that. The story can be a little confusing. Again, so since I'm doing season by season, this is just for season 1. If you're watching season 1, you will not have anything figured out about the sins. Like, you won't really even understand what they've been accused of. Like, they say they're traitors, but, like in what way? Their history, not even at all. You're not going to get any of that. And then another reason that I feel like this scored so low for me is because we have expectations of main characters, like to see them start changing and seeing things differently. And we don't get a lot of that from Meliodas. Meliodas is one way. He is very one-dimensional, and don't get me wrong, he's driven and he's motivated by something super important, but we don't see a lot of character growth. And the growth that we do see even later on in the show it's like a physical growth. It's a growth in his power. We don't really see a lot of growth in his mentality and his maturity. He's pretty much always the same Meliodas. And I think that's a big drawback. And that's definitely part of the reason it scored so low. But it's not really something that I could say that I dislike, but it doesn't help in my opinion. So things that I did like about 7 Deadly Sins season 1. So a lot of people don't like the animation of 7 Deadly Sins, but I do. It does not bother me at all. It's not the best animation style, but that was like, bad animation never even crossed my mind when I was watching this show. So that's like with a grain of salt to me. But I like the animation. So that's one of the things I like. I also like that they do not find all of the sins in season 1. So there is still a sin missing at the end of season 1. And I like that because that was a great opportunity for the story to grow. And honestly, the last sin that they found, he didn't need to be found in the first season anyway. And when you watch the show, or if you have watched the show, I think you'll understand what I mean by that. And lastly, most importantly, the comedy. Hawk is by far one of my favorite characters. and lots of laugh out loud moments between Hawk and Meliodas and the way he acts with Elizabeth. A lot of comedy, and it's done so well for this kind of anime. All in all, season 1 of Seven Deadly Sins, I will say, is probably my least favorite of all the seasons. It did get a 6.2, which I believe is my lowest rating thus far. However, Seven Deadly Sins is not a bad show, and season 1 is not a bad season. It's just not spectacular. It's not great. It's just not all those things, but it's still a good show. It's still a good story, and it does get better. So don't take this as, don't watch Seven Deadly Sins. Take it as, it's got room to grow. It's got room to get better. So I need to stay tuned and see what else happens. As always, thank you guys so much for watching my videos. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you want me to watch next. Thanks, guys.